It's called the legendary moment number 37. It was the moment Daigo Umehara beat Justin Wong in spectacular fashion during the EVO 2004 semifinals. In his autobiography, this is how he described his experience. My hands moved as if possessed, and when I came back to myself, Chun-Li was down. This moment, with Ken played by Umehara and Chun-Li played by Wong, was called by Kotaku the single most important moment in the history of esports, and was also awarded a Guinness World Record for the most views for a competitive fighting game match, with 5,632,211 views on YouTube, as of September 13th, 2016. So what is going on with Daigo's hands? And why have they taken a life of their own? Did he actually have an out-of-body experience? Umehara was put up against the wall, with only a pixel of health left, and in spite of the pressure, he made an incredible sequence of parries, a type of block that negates chip damage, and then catches Wong off guard, taking the round. But he wasn't even aware of what he was doing? That's not the only time in his career that he describes a moment like this. My hands move on their own, guiding Ryu with optimal precision, Daigo said about another fight, a 2009 exhibition match against Justin Wong, who just won the US National Championship earlier that day. My concentration remains intact despite the raucous crowd, which is shouting in true American fashion with each landed combo. Umehara won that match too. Depending on how familiar you are with organized competition in sports and esports, Umehara's description of his hands being possessed might not sound entirely unusual. And actually, this phenomenon might be more common than we think, although many don't talk about it. In motorsports, Ayrton Senna was one of the first. We can imagine why most drivers would refrain from talking about an out-of-body experience, since that kind of talk doesn't reflect well on people in charge of fine maneuvering a car at 200 miles per hour. Senna did it anyway. When interviewed about his famous qualifying lap in the 1988 Monaco Grand Prix, the iconic F1 driver said that I was going faster and faster, and I suddenly realized that I was no longer driving the car consciously. It frightened me because I realized I was well beyond my conscious understanding. In tennis, Novak Djokovic had a similar experience during his comeback against Andy Murray in 2016. In the last point, I don't even remember what happened, Djokovic said. It was like my spirit had left my body, and I was just observing my body fight the last 3 or 4 exchanges. When he won that match, Djokovic became the first man since 1969 to hold all 4 Grand Slams at the same time. There are many reports of out-of-body experiences while practicing sport, but also during sleep paralysis and intense meditation. Some people don't report it, or even having had one, don't think of them as such. It's hard to describe this experience, so most people just don't. A seminal psychology paper on the subject, one that investigated extreme sports, makes that difficulty obvious in its title, Evoking the Ineffable. Even though it's difficult to describe, what is clear is that there are some common aspects to people that have these experiences frequently. Being put into a high-risk and high-consequences situation, being able to achieve intense focus, and a lot of practice. The first psychological model created to describe these experiences was developed by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who defined them as being in a state of flow. First in his book, Beyond Boredom and Anxiety, Experiencing Flow in Work and Play, published in 1975, and then again in 1990 with his book, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. According to the psychologist, the experience of flow has different degrees and can be found in almost any activity in life. All it takes is a situation that presents a high challenge and an individual skilled enough to meet it. It's easy to see how Street Fighter and other esports might create an environment conducive to the experience of flow. And what these experiences show us is that there is an optimal experience, a particular quality to some situations in which we forget thumbs and touching buttons, wins and losses, and we become totally immersed in the game when we play to the best of our abilities to an incredible degree. The experience of flow creates a zen-like moment like no other found in esports, and a moment that might alone explain how we develop such a passion for competitive video games. By simply playing games, we can enter a mental state that briefly integrates mind and body. It's intellectually and emotionally liberating. So call it what you will. Flow state, the zone, an out-of-body experience, or a quasi-religious one. Be it as it may, moment number 37 is a testament to the potential of esports and competition. Proof that practice and discipline create these little magical moments where we hyper-focus and our bodies become embedded to the game, able to respond by reflex and instinct. We can exceed our own talent and play better than we ever could if we were consciously aware of what we were doing. These are moments where anyone can reach the best version of ourselves, and at times, to even surpass them.